So you didn't show the other home, hopefully, right?
Well, no, they wanted me to show the same home 2.5 hours later, but as soon as I found out, I said, I'm sorry.
Yes.
We had that fixed, and, but I mean, she was trying to get something done, and, the sad thing is, check the next day, option pending. I mean, and she was like, well, we'll write an offer tonight if
Yes.
my husband likes it.
I guess you would have called the other realtor and tried to get her.
Okay. All right. I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit here. Okay. And this is where this dialogue is leading us. Okay. Did you sign anything? This would have been the question I would have had. Yes, your daughter has a realtor who has showed you some property. Did you sign anything with that realtor? Okay. There's two options at this point, aren't there? What could they have signed? Okay, let's just say they say yes. I signed something. What's your next question?
Yeah, was it the buyer's rep or was it just the IAB?
They probably won't understand those terms. It's usually easier to say, how long was the document? That's right, 1 page or 4. If it was a 1-pager IABS, then I would say fair game. Fair game. If it was a buyer's rep agreement, you have to back off. Okay? So you could have gone a step further there. Now, however, I'm going to coach you, and that's what this whole strategy is around here. Before you ever go show a property, except in some rare circumstances, like they show up at the open house, it's ending, they want to see one 2 blocks away, you could have a brief, abbreviated meeting right there before you go see it. But I'm going to coach you to have a meeting before you ever put a buyer in your car. To discuss these things right here, their needs, to have a clear picture of what they're looking for, their financial comfort zone, what price range, and then roles and expectations in your relationship. Okay? And we're going to outline that for you specifically later in the manual. But if you don't do those things, you're setting yourself up for wasted time and some heartbreak. Okay? Because you don't know that they're motivated, qualified, and loyal without putting them through that process. And here's just one thing, maybe this will be a wake-up call to you. Somebody is going to go through somebody's process. You're going to put them through your process very proactively, or they're going to put you through theirs. These people were trying to put you through their process. They were what?
Liars.
They were liars. They were initially, yes. So.
During my open house, one of the things I noticed when you were talking about, I had flyers out and everything about not being satisfied with your realtor. One family showed the kid that was eating the meat. Showed up with a real estate agent. But one of the things, because I said hello to the husband, he kind of was like a grumpy man. He didn't say anything, but I still was trying to be nice. The wife, I was nice to. Her sister was there. The real estate agent was talking to me about the home. She didn't like it. But I did catch, and I saw the other realtor notice that the dad was like picking up my cards.
Yes.
And he was like checking it out, and I saw him kind of looking at me, and then he got a flyer, and I know the realtor was like, well, what do you need that for? So I was like, well, maybe.
He said that? The realtor said that? Oh. Yes. Okay, so we're going to get deeper into this, but here's the yes dialogue. The no is very short. If they say, no, we're not currently looking for a home, what's the natural follow-up? What are you doing here? What? We don't want to say it like that. Here's a nicer version. So what brings you out today? Okay, with a smile. Have you ever considered selling your home? If they're not buying, we'll take a different attack. Have you ever considered selling your home? If you don't get anywhere with that, then plant a referral seed. Well, who do you know at this time who's interested in buying or selling? Okay, so you're going to come at it from several different angles, because people who are quite often considering buying a home will tell you no because they don't know you yet, or they're not ready yet, and so they just want to end the conversation. So don't take that as the end of the conversation. Dig a little bit deeper. Keep knocking on those doors to see if one of them will open. If they say we're just looking, oh, are you in the market for a new home? No, we're just looking. Okay, that could mean a lot of stuff, right? So again, you want to stay in dialogue. Well, when would you like to be in your new home? There's some assumption there, isn't there? An assumption that is correct 50% of the time. Again, 50% will buy within 12 months. What's important to you about waiting? Okay, so if they say, well, you know, we're just looking, well, when would you like to be in your new home? Oh, not for another 6 or 9 months. Okay, well, what's important to you about waiting? Why would you want to ask that question? To label them, yeah. Because their reason for waiting might not be valid. Okay? Now, if they're waiting on a bonus or a promotion or confirmation of a financial windfall that's necessary to purchase the home, perhaps that's legitimate. But what if they're operating under an assumption that they need 20% down and they require another 6 or 9 months to save the money or to get that bonus, when you know of a program that would get them in this home for 3% down or 10% down? Okay? So again, you're the professional. Find out the reason. Would you mind if I stay in flow with you? So you don't get anywhere with that. In flow just means, can I stay in dialogue? Can I provide you with helpful information? Okay? Is this your home mailing address and phone number? If you've asked for it on the is this your correct information? Well, please take this criteria sheet, which we give you a sample of, which is just an item of value. You're just giving, you're demonstrating your value as a proactive realtor. It's in the back. And then it was a pleasure meeting with you, and I look forward to visiting with you in the future. Okay? So you're, again, in all these cases, you're never taking the initial response as the final answer. Okay, so starting on page 12, we just go deeper into each of those conversation trees. So in terms of, are you currently in the market for a new home? And they say yes, here's that dialogue, okay, in more detail. How would you like to use a proactive process? What would that look like? You know, the buyer says, well, what do you mean by that? Well, what would that look like? Well, here we go. It would begin with us getting together for about an hour so that I could uncover exactly what you need in your next home, define your financial comfort zone, and thoroughly discuss the roles and expectations we would have of one another in a successful working relationship. Does that sound like an approach that would benefit you? If yes, book the appointment. If no, share with me why you feel that way. Okay? And they might say no again just because they just met you and they've never heard a realtor who talks like you do, okay? That might be extremely appealing to them, but they're still trying to process it. So you might have to justify this meeting because nobody else has ever asked us for a meeting. We just tell them we want to see Elm Street and they say, oh, I'll meet you there in 15 minutes, okay? Typical realtor behavior. Okay, Raul shared with us, I think last week, he said the previous week he fired 2 buyers before he ever met them face to face. And the reason was they wouldn't meet him face to face, except at the property. And he's learned by experience. Those are people, if they will not agree to meet with you for a conversation around these 3 priorities, they are using you. That's it. They want access to the home. You're the gatekeeper. They want your shackle code. That's it. Okay? That's it. They want your super access. Okay? So insist on a meeting. Okay? All right. Justification dialogue. If they want to go deeper, well, what do you mean? What's this meeting all about? Okay? Other agents don't ask me to do this. Exactly. Understand that I'm a real estate consultant and I'm extremely serious about what I do. I don't do this part-time. I'm a full-time realtor. I run a business, and I'm not just in the business of showing homes, I'm in the business of satisfying needs. Okay, toward that end, I have a process that I go through with all of my clients. And it starts with defining your perfect home. Okay, that's another way of saying of identifying your needs. Making sure that home is within your financial comfort zone, and then thoroughly discussing the roles and expectations we would have with one another in a successful working relationship. I believe the best approach when investing a large sum of money, a home is the biggest investment most people make in their life. It doesn't serve them or us to be loosey-goosey about that. I have found that when investing a large sum of money, the best way to operate is as an intentional and proactive team. Wouldn't you agree? By the way, you want to be in a relationship with people who see value in this kind of approach. If they don't see value in that, I can promise you they're not going to be loyal. They might be motivated. We want to buy something. They might be qualified. We can afford to buy it, but they will not be loyal. They may buy with the first realtor. They may work with you for 6 weeks, and then you're not available because you're in San Marcos visiting your son. They call up the listing agent, see the home, and buy it. Boom, from them. That's the kind of people, if they won't meet with you, okay? That's one of our core beliefs, that we live in a world of abundance. You don't have to chase these unmotivated, unqualified, or unloyal people. Let them go so that you have time to find and work with A buyers, okay? So here's a more direct approach for those of you who are more aggressively minded. In regards to your next home, is it important, if they give pushback on the meeting, is it important that you make an informed, intelligent decision? How can they say no to that? Okay? They're either going to say yes or they're going to walk away. Okay? Because no is not an intelligent answer. Is it important that you take a proactive approach rather than a reactive one? Well, what do you mean by that? Well, let's start by defining your perfect home. That's being intentional. Making sure it's within your financial comfort zone, and then making sure we're crystal clear about our expectations of one another in this relationship. Is it important that you make a logical decision rather than one based entirely on emotion? Now, you're not going to bombard with somebody with all these, boom, boom, one after another. But internalize this dialogue. Pick out 1 or 2 of those that you are comfortable saying. Reword it in a way that's comfortable for you to say, and be prepared to use it, okay? To justify this meeting. Because, again, most people will say no. Most people will decline a meeting. But if you can stay engaged and justify it in a logical, tangible way, a certain percentage of those will say, you know what? That does sound like it would make sense. That might save us some time. Yeah, let's do that. Okay? This little graph here, choices, actions, habits, character, destiny, legacy, this showed up in our Real Estate to Get Rich Business Perspective 1. Y'all remember that? It's extremely relevant to an open house strategy. Again, just by way of reminder, the choices that we make, choices lead to the actions that we take, which if repeated over time become our habits, over time form our character, shape our destiny, and ultimately determine our legacy. So how does that relate to open house strategy? Very specifically, every one of us is in control of the choice about who we enter into relationship with, who we spend time with. And if we'll be selective about that, and only spend time with A buyers, that will determine how we spend our day, our actions, which will ultimately shape our habits. And we're in a perfect position, every one of us are, to form good habits early in our career and not start chasing B, C, and D buyers. Now, let's pause here for just a moment. What if somebody is not an A buyer, okay, but they're a B buyer? Well, let's say they're motivated and loyal, but they're not qualified. What do we do with them?
Find a way we can qualify.
How can we do that? How can we do that and maintain our core belief that time is limited?
I usually refer them to someone in the mortgage business.
That is the perfect answer.
And then
Right.
stay in touch.
Right.
And the mortgage guy will let me know. When
Yes. They're not vital to our business right now because they're incapable of buying, but they're relevant to our business. Vital meaning they're ready to buy now. They deserve our attention now. Relevant meaning down the road. And we should cram our pipeline full of people who are becoming qualified. And so we delegate them off to one of our ancillary arms, which in this case would be a credit repair company, a mortgage company, our preferred lender. Let them work with them, and then when they're qualified, send them back in. Okay, so that's how we maintain that relationship without wasting time. If they're not qualified, there's no value in putting them in our car now. Okay? That's just going to aggravate them to fall in love with a house they can't buy and waste our time and keep us from working with A buyers because time is limited. Okay? If they're working with another agent, we kind of played with that dialogue already, but there it is. You can go back for review. If the looker is not a buyer, okay, so you're going to stay in dialogue about that and not accept that initially, but ultimately you want to circle back and plant a referral seed with everybody. It was a pleasure meeting with you. Here's my card. If I can ever be of service to you or anyone you know, please call me. I'd be glad to help you because you never know who's going to circle back. Okay? All right. If the looker is not currently ready to buy, so they're that third category of just looking, so maybe they're a will buy 1 to 3 months, will buy 3 months or greater out. You identify their time frame, and here's the dialogue around that. You agree to stay in touch with them. And by the way, what would be the most relevant way of staying in touch with somebody who's going to buy 1 to 3 months out or 3 to 6 months out? A call is perfect because you maintain the personal relationship. They should be on a call schedule. How else should you stay in touch with them?
Email.
Through emails, very specifically on email.
Postcard.
Well, all these are great ways. These are all right. In fact, in our marketing boot camp, we're going to teach you the 8 and 8, which is our preferred follow-up with the will buy short term, not now, but within 1 to 3 months, where you send them a postcard every week for 8 weeks, and you have these all stacked up, ready to go. Okay, that's an awesome way. In Lead Street, there's also a buyer campaign that you can drip on them with through email. That just gives them relevant information to prepare them for buying.
See, I never found that. I always look for it.
Really?
I have so many emails from people
Yeah.
that I've received over time.
Yes.
And I have them just sitting there, and I don't know how to do this mailing campaign.
Okay, so next Monday at our 101 class, it's Lead Street Q&A with Al Leisner. He's going to be in here for 3 hours answering questions, okay? So bring your issues.
Because if you receive emails from the mortgage companies, from
Yes?
your mortgage banker,
Yes.
they have great newsletters that they send out.
Yes, I get them. Yes.
And it comes weekly, and it's perfectly set up, and it has
Yes.
a picture on top, and the information, it came through some channel.
Yes.
that they use.
They're not sitting down there writing all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would love to have something similar to that, because you have a lot of emails that you get all the time.
Yes.
People that you never work with, but
Yes.
you just want to, you know.
Okay, ask Al that question on Monday, and he'll give you different options for campaigns depending on the specific profile of that buyer. Okay? Okay. Is that a question? Okay, follow-up dialogue. So we're going to coach you that on Monday, or a couple days after each open house, follow up with everybody who registered, okay? Including those who were just looking. So here we go. You know, hi, this is here with Remax. Did I catch you at a good time? First, let me say I really enjoyed meeting you at the open house on Saturday. Did you have any further questions about the home? Did you see any other homes over the weekend you'd like to know more about? Because if they were hitting your open house, they were probably hitting others. And by the way, that means they registered with other agents. But how many of the other agents are going to be calling them 24 to 48 hours later? They intend to, they just get busy, right? So you're going to be unique and not typical. Did you have an opportunity to complete the criteria sheet, which identifies exactly what their needs and wants are? And as I recall, you said you were about 6 months away from buying. Is that still accurate? Because in 24 to 48 hours, things change. They find a home they fall in love with, guess what? They're going to pull money out of the 401k, they're going to call Aunt Betty, they're going to postpone purchasing the new car and get that house, okay? Things can change, and people have a way of funding their priorities, okay? So in the back, there's a number of tools. There's the sample open house register, which again, you can do better than this. This doesn't even ask for email address. Doesn't ask preferred mode of contact, okay, but there's a starter. Open house follow-up, this is just a little tracking sheet. And I would encourage you, if you do things on paper, have a little binder that you carry in your open house kit where you can transfer the data from the registration onto these forms, and that's a means of tracking your follow-up. These 8 and 8, that's the short-term follow-up program I mentioned. The 16 Touch is the longer-term, the 3 months and out follow-up program, which we go through in the marketing boot camp. But you can implement other campaigns now within Lead Street. You can just put them on your call tickler system to touch base every 3 to 4 weeks, whatever's appropriate. Okay? If they're short-term, it'd be more frequently than that. All right, we give you everything. We make this so easy. So what do you say in a thank you note? There's your content. Okay? So you have to buy the cards and the envelopes and the stamps, but there's just a quick note that you want to write to everybody. Again, differentiating yourself, because they went to several open houses, but nobody called them, and certainly nobody sent them a handwritten follow-up note. Okay? Here's the criteria sheet. My next home will have. Here you go. And they're identifying an N for a need and a W for a want. And the idea is to satisfy all of their needs and as many wants as possible. This, by the way, this is a gold mine, guys. Whenever you start working with a buyer from an open house or any other source, you want to get something like this in their hands and use it as the basis for your discussion, for your meeting, where you're talking about defining their perfect home. Okay? All right. Issues, questions, ahas, points that need clarifying. Claudine.
Nothing. No, it's just a different way, I guess, that more professional way that you taught us.
Mm-hmm.
I speak to a lot of people, and I guess it's more directionally
Yes.
to them.
Yes.
They say they're working with a realtor.
Yes.
And I am one of the typical agents.
Yes.
When they tell me that. And
Right.
I kind of stand off because I don't want to put my license in
Right.
jeopardy. And
Right.
I understand the fact that if they have a buyer representation
Yes.
agreement, I need to back up.
Yeah, and you didn't hear me contradicting that, did you?
No,
Okay,
no.
good.
So I guess I could go a little further.
Yes.
And that it really did. I did learn from that.
Okay, good. So find out if they're actually on a buyer's rep agreement and start that process with a different line of questioning. Instead of, are you currently working with an agent? What process are you using to proactively ensure that you find your perfect home?
That's a great way to
Yeah.
ask instead of, are you working with the agent
Yes,
right now?
yes, yes. Which almost seems self-serving, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to keeping it focused on them.
Yes.
All right, other ahas.
I don't think, for a serious buyer, I don't think you have to work that much like you were talking about earlier about the direct approach and asking them all that, are you working with a buyer, are you, all the stuff that you asked back here.
Uh-huh.
If they're really serious, you won't have to push them that much. They'll be glad to come in and meet with you.
Uh-huh.
Tell you, isn't that?
Well, one of our core beliefs is that if they won't meet with you, they're not a buyer.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that if they are a buyer, they'll be eager to meet with you. You might have to go a little further in establishing your credibility, because they might be wanting to meet with somebody and buy from somebody, but it may not be you yet. And so by continuing that dialogue, you demonstrate, oh, I am the one you want to work with. Because we're going to define your perfect home, make sure it's within your financial comfort zone, and clearly define our expectations of each other. I have bought homes with realtors. I can't count the dozens of homes I've bought in my life. No realtor has ever done that with me. It's kind of like, how many bedrooms you want? How many bathrooms? What's your price range? Okay.
I don't even remember your realtor's.
Name. I don't remember her name. I still don't. Okay?
Well, you know, in Raul's position, he is at a point where he can be probably a little bit more selective, and I get that.
Yes.
I'm not fully confident to be able to demand that kind of, I mean, I'm willing to maybe meet somebody. I mean, I'm not going to continually, like the woman.
Yes.
As soon as I found out, you know, then I'm like, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I might be a little more willing to go out because, you know, how are we going to establish this rapport otherwise?
Yes.
So I might do that first in the beginning.
Yes.
So I know what else am I doing. And hopefully try to establish a rapport. I mean, like you were able to, she was obviously working with someone else, was unhappy, and because you took the time for her, you were able to, she got out of one representation and entered into one with you. But if you had just demanded that she come meet you at the office, I'm not sure.
Yes.
That would
Might
have
have been
gone,
put
you know.
off, yeah.
So,
I think for security purposes, I'm gonna go with, I mean, just personally, even though my husband plans to trail me at every
I love
showing.
it. He needs
Anyway,
to too, because you're
I
really
watch
cute.
Criminal Minds. One of their episodes was a real estate agent getting
Yes.
killed in the house.
Yes.
So that's always been in the back of my head.
Yes.
Someone throws, like, and I thought if someone calls, you have to
Yeah.
get killed in the house. So I was really happy when he
That you
said,
don't have to. It's not a requirement.
Yeah.
And as many male realtors are killed in those circumstances as female.
Really?
Yes, as many. And typically it's a robbery motive then. But yes, it happens equally. So I would encourage you, and I went back to this page because Alana, I'm going to speak to you directly for just a moment. Okay? You're making choices right now to establish habits for your whole career. And I would encourage you to make productive choices. And I know what you're thinking. I understand totally. Oh, I don't have a buyer, so I got lots of time, so why not I take a chance? I mean, there's 10% chance it's going to turn into a deal, okay? And what I would say is maintain an abundance attitude that, okay, if they're not going to meet with me, they're not a buyer. That's a core belief. So instead of wasting any time with them, I'm going to use the 2 hours I was going to drive them around to see that house to go out and proactively generate a lead with somebody who is motivated, qualified, and loyal. Okay? There are safety issues to address. If they're not willing to meet, I promise you, somebody who agrees to come into the office and meet with you and have a conversation like that, they are 1,000 times less likely to be a predator than somebody who...
It's true. Like, if they won't meet.
That's right.
There's a percentage that you have to say this person might want to do something.
And keep in mind, these predators often work in pairs with one of the pair being a woman. Just because they're a couple doesn't mean it's safe. The woman is often a facilitator to lure people in. And we're kind of going down a different track. But for safety reasons and for productivity reasons, I would encourage you, even if let's just say that they want to see a property out in Magnolia, and it's not convenient to meet here at this office, I would meet them somewhere before going to the property. Okay, let's meet at Starbucks. Let's meet at the title company I work with up there. Let's meet somewhere.
Is there a RE/MAX office over there?
There's RE/MAX offices everywhere, yes, and there is one in Magnolia. Yes, and you can meet there. I call them up and say, I'm with RE/MAX, the Woodlands in Spring. I have a client out in that area. It would be so convenient. Could we drop in and use your conference room for a few minutes? They'll always say yes, yes, yes. So meet them somewhere for that little dialogue and say, hey, let's meet for 15 minutes at Starbucks. Make sure we're on the same page. Again, you don't have to go through the whole dialogue. If you're not quite ready for that, let's make sure we're on the same page and that I understand what you're looking for, because with my access to the MLS, I may be aware of some other homes that might even be a better fit. So let's just have that conversation before we go out to the house. That's a much safer approach. Okay? All right. Thank you, guys. Are y'all all okay if I share your names as having attended this class and being eager and ready and able to hold an effective open house? Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.